Content. Gamer Mom is a browser text-based game with cartoon-drawn characters. The object of the game is to help Mom convince her family to play an online game called World of Warcraft. It is a short game that lasts about 3 to 4 minutes. Most of the time, the game ends in complete failure because Mom was not able to get anyone to play with her. I did find one path that gets Dad to play, but I could not find any way to get him to stay. The elements that work together to create meaning are the expressions on Mom's face as she relentlessly tries to get her family to play the game with her that she is so passionate about. The author does a really good job with the character expressions, and you really feel for the mom. The author is communicating to us that a person can get so caught up in the excitement and lure of a multiplayer video game that real life just does not seem as appealing. I think it was creative to use the mom as the main character because she would be the last person you would expect to be the time waster in the family. Structure. Gamer Mom is a browser-based interactive media game with many text-based choices that always lead to failure. The player is given choices of things to say to family members. The player is also able to choose strategies such as go for it, wait for a response, or think this through. There really is no way of winning this game. Even when you get the dad to play, it is impossible to get him to stay. He just ends up leaving and going on, and talking on his cell phone. The closest you get the daughter to play is she's standing at the doorway just watching from afar. Design. The game is designed with hand-drawn cartoon figures and a bright, plain setting. The family is basically sitting at the dining room table. The mother is trying to talk to her husband and daughter, but they are hardly paying any attention to her. They are both in another world, staring at their new media. As Sherry Turkle described it from our readings, they are alone together. The game's author made the mom a very animated character. You are presented with choices, and with each choice you make Mom's emotions change, and her facial expressions and body language clearly immerse you in how she is feeling. Components. The game was very simplistic, and there were not many components used. There is no sound or video, just a plain background and a hand-drawn cartoon of a family sitting at a table. The characters communicate with bubble-like chat above their characters' heads and facial expressions. Even though the game is simplistic, you are still drawn into it more through your imagination than the game's immersion. Interactivity interface. The player uses a mouse to click on text-based buttons to choose the course of action to be taken. Once you choose a course of action, the player then tries to get a read on the characters using text-based bubble chat and facial expressions for feedback and clues to what course of action you should try to use. Subjective response. I did not like the game at first, when I was quickly just clicking random buttons and hurrying along, but once I immersed myself with the game, it became very entertaining. You really feel for the mom and the family because they seem like a hopeless cause. Both the dad and the daughter are in their own little world. The daughter sits there staring at her cell phone, and the dad is a workaholic on his laptop. They both have hardly anything to say to each other. The poor mom ironically wants to bring the family together with this vision of playing an online video game with them. I say it's ironic because I feel it's delusional to think an online game will get her family back together. I feel bad for the mom because she continually gets dejected by her family. The most ironic thing, though, was an argument she was having with her family that online games are more fun than real life. It was funny watching the dad and daughter argue that real life is more fun as they're waist deep staring at their new technologies. Richard de Gumpry would have enjoyed a good laugh if he witnessed this argument going on. I did a little extra research and discovered that the author's code was open source. I reviewed his code, and to my delight I discovered that the author commented out some personal information about himself. He really gets personal and self-reflective. You could tell he understood new media and shared some interesting views. In his first personal comment, he talks about how family pictures are so fake. He talks about the ritual of everyone taking a second out of real life to put on a happy face and project a positive image. Then everyone quickly goes back to the cattiness of real life in the real world. In his second personal comment, he talks about the main character, which is the mom. He says he is often asked whether she is real or not. He feels her actions and thoughts are extreme, but he talks about how he based this character off himself and the real-life emotions of a 24-year-old living with his parents. I would like to end this video presentation with a quote from the author. "The reason I emphasize my identification with the title character is to make a point. If I were not her, this game would be a meaningless gimmick. But because I am her, there is an emotional truth. This is the promise of the character adventure game, to let you inhabit the head of someone else, someone very different from yourself. If I had not put an emotional truth into the lines and choices and situations, they would all mean nothing."